All right.
Good morning. Hey, just in time he has arrived for what I actually was hoping is going to be like our anniversary celebration kind of stream, since we're approaching the
Dude,
100K here today.
this is
Almost
incredible.
hit it earlier. It's incredible now. So obviously,
I have to
welcome.
say.
First of all, good to see you. And yeah, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of news, a lot of good things, a lot of things to be concerned about, in my opinion, as well, when it comes to the financial markets. Obviously, you're going to spend time talking about Bitcoin. I hope we have time to touch base a little bit also on what's going on the more, let's say, call them legacy markets, because kind of they
Yeah.
are like detached at the moment in this environment. And maybe, if we are like super lucky, I mean, that would be so awesome. We are going to see live 100,000 here today within the
That
next
would be
hour.
amazing.
That would
Holy
be
shit! Like,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, we are live today also on Twitch, by the way, for the Chinese
Ooh.
audience. So if you're watching us from China today, welcome, Ni Man Hao. Good to see you. And obviously, this is about my how far my Chinese goes, sadly. So we have to do the live stream here in English. But yeah, if you have any question, I can see already we have some people writing here. Send us a message here. Of course, we want to take our sweet time also to answer some of your messages. But I would say now, except of course, if you want to say something, maybe let's start right away
Can
by
we just
looking
take a
at shots.
moment?
Yeah.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate that Bitcoin on Bitstamp hit exactly 99,500. We're exactly
really?
the top. The top is like exactly $500 from 100K. Exactly 0.5%. That's
That's insane.
that's too good. Like that makes me a little bit worried.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
that
is.
makes me a
Yeah,
little bit worried.
it feels like last time, wasn't that like in 2021 where we topped out at 69,000 and something, and everybody was
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
69.9 or stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah."
We have a comment here
And
from Marco, saying please speak about the forex market as well. And that's we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the macro as well.
we
So
will
and right
definitely.
now, I mean, okay, so Bitcoin is shooting up towards 100,000. Euro USD is breaking down. The
Yeah.
dollar is breaking to the upside with a very strong breakout. We have not traded above this level on the dollar currency index since November 2022.
I think last week when we talked, we were still trading around 106 something, no? Now we're at
Yes,
104.
exactly. And the idea that we're talking, you remember the idea that I talked about the correlation between the risk on and the dollar strength? That is playing out perfectly at this point. Perfectly. So I'm currently well positioned in in that short on Euro USD. And I've also opened a short on GBP CAD, which is dropping. Yeah, we're seeing a huge drop to the downside on
It
GBP
is.
CAD as well. So
For me, honestly speaking, your euro dollar trade is like the macro trade of a year so far. That was an
yeah,
unbelievably good timing and superb analysis you did there.
yeah, I think thank you. Well, first of all, thank you. And I gotta say that, from where we talked about, from where we entered, and I gotta say, I did enter along here at support with a small position, but that's like, sometimes you have to take a trade because the risk reward is just too good to ignore. But then I had the bias of Euro USD probably continuing to downside. But then in the back of the head, I'm like, yes, I have that bias, but if that bias fails, I'll make a lot of money. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want? Do you want to be right or do you want to make money? Well, I don't care about being right. I want to make money. Yeah,
It's not about being
money.
right or wrong. No, it's about making money. The trade that makes you money.
But we are actually trading 350 pips below where we started shorting Euro USD.
It's insane. It's insane. And you don't see this type of volatility on the Forex market really every day. I said it last time. I can remember when I started trading Forex, it was normal to see something like 0.2% per week as a movement. Anything above that was like, oh my God, we have so much volatility. And now it's like, Oh, it only moved like 0.1% in the last 5 minutes.
And what's interesting in this scenario is, we got dollar strength, and obviously we also have the S&P 500 moving quite bullishly. I mean, the S&P 500 has put in a daily swing point, daily swing higher low,
Yeah.
and it feels like it's going to continue higher. We got J.P. Morgan, we got Morgan Stanley talking about 6,500, 6,500. I'm trying to say, and that's that's about a 10% increase to the upside, and they're talking about that throughout next uh, next year. So they're obviously seeing a continued push on risk on throughout 2025, which of course would mean that Bitcoin would be fueled by that as well. But we're also talking about dollar strength here. So we're setting up for so many different opportunities in the market today. And you mentioned in the beginning as well. You mentioned that you want to touch upon things in the macro, and I would love to hear on
Yeah.
how you think that is, if that's aligning with this idea or not.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's also here interesting question from tips, tricks, and backflips. We're talking about BTC obviously a lot, but how do we know how this will affect the altcoins like Ripple, Doge, ADA, and so on? This is also something I would like to touch base on. Actually, I had this on my to-do list as well. Was writing a little bit about in the Chinese Telegram channel yesterday about this as well, because that was a question coming up there. But I really would like to start here a little bit with Bitcoin. And I mentioned
Yes.
last week that I was planning on parting a little bit with some of my stash and all the troubles I had with the exchange there that suddenly locked up my BTC. That has been resolved luckily. So I actually sold about three BTC at around 93,000 US dollars, which were parts of it very old ones. So some of them I bought at $8,000 and $9,000, had a 10x now on them, and I think it's just fair to say, you know what? Why not? Do I really have to try to hold it all until the very top, or do I just reap in some rewards now? There are plenty of other projects, startups that I would like to fund as well. And it's always good to have a little bit of liquidity. So that was resolved, luckily. So I don't need to name and shame like I announced last week this cryptocurrency exchange. But there's, of course, also like a little bit of a reason that I said, okay, I think it's time to take at least some of the backs off the table. I'm not saying this is the end of a bull run. By all means, if we just look here at the logarithmic chart, we can see there's still plenty of room until we probably going to top out here somewhere at the red one. But short term, I think there are also risks that we could see a little bit of a consolidation first. If this is going to be now here exactly at 99,500 US dollars, which we saw as a top a couple of minutes ago or a couple of hours ago, or if it's going to be 100 or 110, we don't know yet. But one thing that I always like to look at are in phases like this, moving averages, and in particular here the blue line, which is the 8 weeks moving average for Bitcoin, and the red and yellow line, which are the so-called bull market support bands, which is a 20 weeks simple moving average and a 21 weeks exponential moving average. Now, what you'll see over and over again is that in bull markets, in bear markets too, that's just the other way around them, that Bitcoin from time to time likes to come back to its 8-week moving average. Now you can see currently we are very, very far away from this. As a matter of fact, about 28% trading, the price is 28% above that 8 weeks moving average. And the last time we saw a constellation like this was, well, when we had the last all-time high back in March of 2024. And we all know now what came after this. We had a consolidation phase. We're going sideways. We're going a little bit down for a prolonged time. I'm not saying that this necessarily needs to happen now like this again. But be aware that sooner or later we are probably going to see a correction down again to the 8 weeks moving average. This can be now, this can be in a couple of weeks. If we see that now, we would really go all the way down again to about 75 to 73,000 US dollars. Another thing that can happen, of course, you don't always need crashes to kind of resolve something like this. What could also happen is that we see a consolidation phase, maybe where we trade between 90 and 100,000 for a couple of weeks, maybe 2-3 months, until this moving average or all those of these moving averages here have caught up a little bit with the price. So yeah, long term, everything still green. I'm still believing the best is yet to come. But short term, I wouldn't bet on us going to, let's say, straight away 150,000 or something like this. So if you are scalping, if you are swing trading and you are aiming for a long position in Bitcoin, I would be very careful. Actually, yesterday when we had a live trading session in the Chinese group, I took a little short on Bitcoin, but I closed it then because I said this is also dumb. The pressure is to the upside, so I shouldn't be in short trades on Bitcoin as well. So swing trading wise, I'm a little bit sidelined here at the moment. I don't know how you see it. Maybe you say no, this is especially the time now to buy. Or how is that in your opinion, Jonathan?
Well, if it's too early to buy, maybe too high. I mean, too late to buy is probably what I'm thinking. I mean, okay. So looking at I was actually.
You want to share anything as why so?
Yeah, let me open the screen here. So while you were talking, I actually I just opened EURUSD, and I'm kind of.
Yeah. Very quickly, this is a good point. Sorry, Mr. Bobby Fresh, Bitcoin dominance chart. This is we're going to have a look at that later, because from that we can also kind of project when probably something like an altcoin season is going to start.
Okay, so I just want to bring our attention to EURUSD before we kind of go into the Bitcoin again. We are currently seeing something massive on EURUSD. I first want to bring it to the chart that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, the correlation between the dollar currency index and the S&P 500. Basically, what we're seeing is a perfect correlation between risk on and risk off, just like what happened in 2016 when Trump came into office there and won the election. The correlation then broke after the inauguration date. Now, looking at the dollar currency index chart, we are seeing a massive breakout. Massive. Okay, let me repeat that. This is a massive breakout. It's strong. It's on its way most likely to 109, 110 area. And as you know, this is if you add USD Euro, not your USD, but if we add USD Euro, you see that it's almost a perfect correlation with the dollar currency index right here, which means, of course, that the Euro USD is breaking down, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And I'm adding to this short here, and the move, if we look at the 15-minute, it's just this is crazy. This is a move in the forex market that we do not get very often. Okay, this is extreme volatility right here, and just absolutely insane. Probably based on the numbers, the manufacturing numbers coming out of the EU area right now. I haven't really looked at it, but yeah, this is some of the craziest movement I've seen in a very long time. And if I look at my MetaTrader right now, it's just, yeah, very happy about what I'm seeing right now with these positions, because I'm currently in a big short on EURUSD. I have about 7 different positions on GBP CAD, which is this one right here, which has a massive high time frame break to the downside right here. It's broken this overall structure right here. I'm hoping we're going to take this lower. And then, of course, trading the dollar strength, long USD CHF for this move to the upside. Everything that I talked about in the beginning.
Now, there's no news that came out or anything. That's
well, it gotta be the manufacturing numbers coming out from the euro area, the manufacturing PMI. So
sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so that one was actually a little bit better than expected.
We can look at this right now. I do have, if we share this right here, we can look at the financial juice right here, and we can see what they're saying. So it says right here that money markets price in ECB deposit rate at 1.8 in July, 50% chance of a 50 basis point cut in December. This is obviously UK retail sales coming in lower, pushing the GBP lower. And this is also a cascading effect. We see that euro is falling to levels that we haven't seen in 2022. That also has a cascading effect. There was a lot of longs in this area. We're seeing obviously longs piling in, and we
Yeah.
might seeing a liquidating, like a cascading liquidation effects here as well. Lots of liquidity with the longs, and people are panicking. They have to close the longs, and then people are shorting based on the news as well. So we are seeing some massive, massive movements right here. And today, what we have, so at 9:15, we had the flash manufacturing PMI coming out of France, which is lower than expected. We have the German flash PMI coming in lower than expected, and we also have the European Central Bank Lagarde speaking about probably speaking now, and then we have the Eurozone manufacturing flash PMI coming in lower than expected, and service PMI lower than expected. Everything's just lower than expected. The European economy is trash. It's just not looking good.
Yeah.
It's just not looking good. And the UK government, the UK economy is also not looking good. Now there is one thing here though. If you look at the German manufacturing flash PMI, it seems like it might be have been revised to slightly higher.
Yeah, that's why I was just so amazed, because that's the number I saw here just now on TradingView, the 43.2. That's why I was a little bit, okay, how come we are still seeing the dollar going such massively strong? But I think, like you said, it's a bit a self-fulfilling prophecy by now. Once you have a trend that establishes itself like this, I imagine you will have a lot of the institutional traders, especially the ones sitting at banks, that have to take care of the euro and the US dollar book, or the inflows, outflows from clients that are tremendously under pressure to hedge itself. And I remember this one case back then when there was Fukushima, that even in euro dollar, when I would call like a bank like UBS or something, they would give me a spread of 50 pips.
50.
Which is 50 pips, because nobody wanted to take any positions anymore. And I can imagine we are seeing something like this here a bit at the moment as well. You're probably not going to see this reflected with your Forex broker if you're trading Forex, but I can imagine there's a lot of panic, because this is not a normal move. I mean, when we started the stream, I said, oh, we're trading at 104.39 or something. Now we are at 103 something. That's really insane. It's really insane.
Absolutely insane. So what I'm looking at here...
Sorry, a comment here from, I think about maybe when Wall Street entered, the conditions changed too, and the crash won't happen. I think this refers to what I was saying about Bitcoin. I would always be careful with statements like, oh, this time things are going to be different. I had throughout my life the pleasure of working with a lot of extremely rich people. I have very good connection to a lot of trading desks at really very, very large banks. So where, they laugh about the volume that we do here, because they do that in like a minute. And one thing after all this time I know is they are just as dumb as we all are. They are not sitting on information that we don't have access to. They make the same mistakes. They have the same psychological hurdles. So don't believe just because somebody is extremely rich that they automatically are able to make better trading decisions. Most of the time, it's not true. On the contrary, you very often have with these people, because they are, they maybe work their way up, gotten rich, so they are used to being right. And usually especially they cannot accept if they are wrong with a trading position. So they'll keep adding until they are forced to liquidate. So it's not going to be different, for sure not.
That's also something I've heard, that a lot of these money managers, like a lot of, especially those who have like a academic background, or maybe have a lot of certificates and degrees, they're like that they're very sure about, like, well, I'm a professional, like a professor at economics. I know that price must go up, and then it doesn't go up, and like it's difficult to accept that you're wrong on the idea.
Yeah,
but
I always remember there used to be like this hedge fund that was run in the 90s by Nobel Prize winners in economics, and that one went down. It went bankrupt. And I don't remember what it was called, but it was a big thing back then. Another thing here, why I want to point out here, why I do not think things are necessarily going to be different. So talking again here now about Bitcoin, let me just quickly get rid of some of my crude drawings here. This one is here when we change to the weekly chart. So this is a daily chart. Now changing to a weekly chart, we can see like how beautiful, the upswing was last time. And who says, for example, that we are not currently seeing what we saw last time here, this double top, that what we are seeing now is a double top again. This is in the realms of possibility. Also, if we look like how long did it actually take us last time from the absolute low we were, which was here around $2,800. So I'm talking about the low of a bear market, 2018. From there until the first top, it took us. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry, I want date one here. It took us about 850 days. And if we just pretend, how about if it's again 850 days this time? So that would put us here somewhere into March of 2025. So this is like, in my opinion, kind of the time span where we could see things topping out for the first time. So the absolute high of Bitcoin might actually not be that far away anymore. So I always like to use charts like this because they put things a little bit more into perspective. I'm not saying now that is going to happen, because we still have, if we look here at one of our favorite charts, this logarithmic regression chart for Bitcoin, we can see that actually we are just entering this frenzy phase and there's still plenty of room to the top. However, what you also can see here, and I know you like this indicator a lot, the MVRV score, right? And is that we've reached here now a level where the markets also like to kind of turn around. This was exactly, for example, the level where we had last time the top at 69,000 US dollars in 2021. So we are probably going to see like diminishing returns over time. You cannot count on that the top of the MVRV score is going to be somewhere around 6. It's probably going to be lower, maybe 5.5 or 5 and something. So it's not that far away anymore, which also, for, in my opinion at least, speaks for that maybe we are going to see a little bit of a correction. I hope I'm wrong, but I cannot just ignore something like this. I'm going to switch now to your chart again.
Okay, so I absolutely agree with you here. I've done they've done a couple of done some analysis on the different cycles here, and what I like is the fact that I looked at the average time between halving and top, and the average time between the halving and the top I saw was, I believe, around 500 days, something like that. Like that was like the average day. So that comes in at the end of August. Let's say August 2025. Which, if you look at this, which is,
I think it's always like something like 15 to 18 months or something, no? At least what we saw in the past.
Yeah, I don't know about month. I'm used to doing the calculations in days, and I'm too stupid to know what that is in months. So I don't know. But like right now we're about 280 days from that, so we're about halfway there, almost, maybe like 40% till that point. And I think it kind of aligns with, if we break above this upper band, if we break above 100K, 110K in the next today or over the week, and probably I think it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, probably over the weekend. We see that a lot of breakouts on Bitcoin happen over the weekend, so maybe it's going to happen over the weekend. And then the real, as you call it, the bull market frenzy might actually take us up. This, to me, I have my profit taking area here, but maybe we have to like increase it to this area, which puts us around 250, right? So I'm thinking, somewhere between, let's see, somewhere between 200 and 250 is, I believe, perhaps where if we get that bull market frenzy, it kind of makes sense to see a doubling of the price of Bitcoin. Because if you see from that breakout to here, that's 300%. 300%. It's insane. 300%. Last time that happened, 1,150%. Yeah, it's insane. It's just insane. And that was in 2017, right? So
But still, if you look back after the last halving, for example, you can also see we approached the upper green band just to go down, then to the middle green band again. This is what I mean. Just because we say oh, we could potentially see next year in August, by August, something like a 200 or 250,000 US dollars in price, doesn't mean that it's going to be a smooth ride. No, we can go to 100, 210, and then fall back to 80,000 or something like this. We've seen that over and over again. For me, it's just the thing. I think the sentiment is just too positive at the moment. When I open Twitter, everybody's going insane. At the moment, they are throwing out $1 million price targets for next year again. And last time I remember it still very well. Everybody suddenly had those red laser eyes, So I'm waiting for that to happen again. And this was then until Elon Musk, I think back then, tweeted oh, Tesla's going to sell all of its Bitcoin. We don't want to hold them anymore, which was the first peak we saw then. So as much as I would like to this rally continue to see, as much I'm a little bit worried that when we see a pullback again, by 20%, for example, which would put us to 80,000, under 80,000 at the moment again, that people are going to be super afraid again. And then it's the end of the world again. Because I don't know about you guys, maybe you can comment on that also. I really had last week a lot of people calling me and asking about Bitcoin that normally don't give a flying F about Bitcoin. The type of people that always call, when the end is near, so to say, to ask me, hey, what is this with Bitcoin? Is it good to buy now? And I'm always a little bit well, we have been talking about buying Bitcoin now basically since 2022 when we were trading at 16 to 20,000. Why are you calling me now? Do you think it's wise to do that now? It's this I told you so, no? And I'm I always have two hearts beating in my chest there, because obviously
you should
long term it's going up, but I cannot guarantee you that's going to fall down to 80 before that again.
You could always say if someone, if the same people call, at the top, and I get that as well. I mean, it's my grandmother and my mother and my brother and basically families and old friends that I haven't talked to since the last top, things like that. And they call, and one thing that I'd like to say is so it's always a good time to buy Bitcoin, but whenever you call me, I sell Bitcoin. Because the fact that you ask me about Bitcoin means that we're now probably reaching the top, because you're late, and you're always late. That's just how it is, And yesterday I bought a couple of altcoins. I added to a couple of altcoins as well, if in case we break above 100K and we continue. But that's also something that I always do at the top. I look into these real shit coins. I don't even know what it is. I'm just looking at a chart and I'm like, oh, this looks like it's low. I'm gonna buy that. That's what I do at the top. So we all have our own characteristics that we things that we do when we're approaching a top, and that's one of the things I'm doing. But the title, so we're live on my YouTube, and we're live on your YouTube as well as with Twitch. And the title for my live stream is I'm selling Bitcoin, and here's why. So I wanted to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact of why I sold some of my Bitcoin holdings. And it's not I did sell a bunch. I did not everything, of course, not everything, but I did sell. And the one of the reasons why I did that was because mainly, if we do add the MVRVC score back here, we see that my idea for a very long time with Bitcoin has always been the idea of buying inside this reload zone right here. And then I remember I added just for a target to the upside, I added the 50% fib to the upside, and what we get is here is the extension reload zone, and that has always been like my long-term target for this trade. And the thing is, the MVRVC score is far away from reaching the top here, far away from reaching the sell. But from having an average entry of around 20, between 20 and 22, I believe, so around maybe 21, this area, to current prices, that's almost 400, 360%, and we're right below 100K. So for me, taking profits here on a position that I've held for 2 years just makes perfect sense, and I'm following the overall idea. The reason why I'm not exiting everything, the reason why I'm not selling everything, is because we're still inside this green band. We haven't even touched the 50% extension fib, and the MVRVC score is still quite. Now my watch is talking to me. Always, I have like
It's telling
this,
you your heartbeat is too high. You're too excited right now, probably.
Probably. I'm gonna turn that off. Okay, so yeah, so I'm still keeping parts of that position. I probably sold maybe I've sold 40%, something like that, because I did sell some here, and I did sell some here, and now I sold some here. So maybe I got like 60% left of the position that I bought here, which I think will make me quite a lot of money if we come up here. So, and one secret that I would like to share to everyone, when if in the next cycle you're looking to add on the bottom of the next cycle on Bitcoin, and you're not really sure how you're going to be holding, because I'm holding this position since 2 years ago, what you want to do is you want to have it on a hardware wallet, and then you want to keep that hardware wallet in an area that is very, very inaccessible. And that's what I do. I have it in a safe, and that safe is in a place where it takes me time to get to that place. So if I want to sell Bitcoin, I have to plan it. I have to plan to sell Bitcoin, and it takes me probably like an hour to actually get the hardware wallet from where it is. And then of course we got backups and all of that. But make it difficult to sell is a good advice, I think.
I think so too. Yeah. One thing quickly I want to share also is, you guys know, here we go. I'm a big fan here of intothecryptoverse.com, and especially this Bitcoin price color coded by risk levels. Now, and normally at this point, always the question arises: okay, what are the metrics that go into the charts? I don't know. It's a proprietary secret of Into the Cryptoverse, but for me, it's a good chart to kind of time when there either could be a new all-time top and we change to a bear market again, or also for kind of the local tops. So you can see here, whenever this chart turns more into the blue scale, this is pretty much, we are in a bear market. We are the darker blue it is, the higher the chance that we are approaching the bottom of a bear market. On the other side, the redder those dots get, the more risk to the downside is there again. And interestingly enough, here in March, this chart indicated that probably we are around a local top, and it was right. And what we can do now here, for example, is we can delete all the points, and we say we only want to see the extremes. So whenever this goes above 0.6, or higher, and you can see how well this works really to kind of see, oh, maybe we are now at levels, where I should be a little bit more cautious. And we are at those levels again right now. You can see we have here those orange dots printing. And you can see this doesn't necessarily mean this is the end of things already, but for sure it also can indicate like local tops, like it did back in March of 2024. So this is like one more reason for me to say, I wouldn't be surprised to either see like more of sideways action now until things cool a little bit down, or even like a retracement of 10, 15, or maybe even 20%, or maybe even 27 or 28% all the way until we reach this 8 weeks moving average again that I showed you guys earlier. So this one always a good chart to look at. Let's have a quick look here also at the altcoin season chart, which is always a great tool to kind of get a feeling for, might there be an altcoin season starting? So this looks at the top 50 cryptocurrencies minus the stablecoins, so those are excluded. The top 50 altcoins, how did they perform versus Bitcoin in the last 90 days? And whenever you see, for example, here that we have a couple of coins that perform better, but we have plenty of coins that perform worse than Bitcoin. And let's form a metric out of this, which says like, we are right here. When we are in this green zone down here, this always means it's Bitcoin season. So usually you'll see then Bitcoin dominance going higher. You'll see Bitcoin outperforming altcoins. However, whenever we dive into this green area also, it's also a good choice then to switch from Bitcoin in altcoins, because it's kind of reaching peak dominance again, and you'll very likely see a phase, we saw this last time here, where you have a couple of months where altcoins can perform again better. And there was earlier the question, when are altcoins going to catch up? I mean, what we are seeing right now with is really also very typical for a new bull market in Bitcoin or in cryptocurrencies. First, you have Bitcoin going wild, going to the upside, and obviously Bitcoin this time gets more attention than it got during the last cycles, because we have not only institutional traders or companies that want to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. We have something like the USA thinking about adding it to their reserve as a reserve currency. So that's a huge thing. But when the bull market is going to continue later on, you'll for sure see also that altcoins are catching up much again. Why is that? Because on a psychological level, what people cannot believe, that after Bitcoin, let's say, reaches 100,000, that it's going to 150,000. They want to look for the next Bitcoin. So to say, that was the same for me. The first time I got into touch with Bitcoin was trading, I think, around $3,000. I was like, oh no, this is too high already. I need to look for something else. For me, back then, it was Electronium. I think that one doesn't exist anymore now.
Right, yeah.
So you get like people are going to chase something. They think like, oh, I'm late to the party, so I want to go into altcoins. This for sure is coming again, and this usually is when the last phase of the frenzy bull market. So this usually happens when we really see on this logarithmic chart Bitcoin in this black area here. Yeah.
So I want to go back to that altcoin season chart, because that is actually that's not available to the public. You have to actually pay to get access to that one.
Yeah. So I think I pay like $40 or something for some metrics. But it's I in my heart, I'm like I almost said fundamentalist, a fundamental trader. So I like to look at a lot of metrics, and this is one. I don't trade altcoins very much as a swing trader. Like close to zero actually, but for me it's always, because this question arises a lot always, when is altcoin season finally coming, and this is kind of my go-to chart then, just to look at where are we more in a phase right now where it's a Bitcoin phase, which we are at the moment. Is Bitcoin outperforming 99% of the top 50 altcoins at the moment? Well, maybe then it's time to switch into altcoins, or I don't know, go long something, Ethereum versus Bitcoin or something, if you want to do that as a trading position.
But basically what this chart is telling us is that when it's in the green area, that's when it's Bitcoin's time to outperform, and then when you go up to the red area, that's when altcoins, altcoin season basically.
Yeah, it looks always in this case at the last 90 days. You can also switch it here to the last 30 or 60 days. So it's always a historic thing. But one thing you'll notice is that when we have Bitcoin season, so when this index is in the green zone here, usually after this, you'll get a time of a couple of weeks again where altcoins outperform Bitcoin. Now, altcoins outperforming Bitcoin doesn't mean that the price of all cryptocurrencies cannot go down. It would be just when something like, if you have Ethereum, it didn't go as far down as Bitcoin, for example. Or if the bull run continues, it will, when Bitcoin goes up another 20%, maybe Ethereum will go up 30 or 40%, like we've seen so many times, no, in the last bull markets, in the last cycles.
By the way, have you seen the wick on like the wick on EU here on the 1 hour? This
Why,
is
this is crazy.
yeah, this is
But this must have been somebody who was like somebody large who was like
yeah.
force liquidated.
Yeah, I think so. I
And
think
for a wick like this, we are talking about several hundred millions of US dollars in volume.
I think we had a lot of long positions here, and we had
Yeah.
stops below that range, and the fact that we we took out these lows, and we had the news coming out from the euro area with the manufacturing data that triggered a big sell-off. I think if we go to the if we look at the news later, if maybe Bloomberg, we're probably going to see record numbers of liquidation and things like that.
Yeah.
It's
For sure.
absolutely crazy. And same thing happened with GBP, like GBP CAD, for example, as well. You have a massive wick right here. But this still shows, I mean, look at that 15-minute. This is just crazy. And yeah, I mean, this is just, it does seem like, though, it's still has some weakness here. I'm still looking at like this level. So if we of course can start reclaiming this level like this, then I will of course start looking start taking profit on this position. We did have, it was interesting though, the manufacturing PMI came out from the UK. The service PMI came out, and that was actually lower than expected, which initially pushed price lower. But I'm wondering if, so the fact that UK manufacturing numbers coming in lower than expected means that the manufacturing sector in the UK is not doing as well as they hoped. But that wouldn't that mean that they're looking to perhaps cut rates maybe a little bit quicker, because that mean it doesn't affect inflation, but then again long term that pushes the economy lower, that
Yeah.
should be bad for the British pound. So it's we're in a very peculiar situation.
It's really crazy what we are seeing right now. Like, because like you just said, normally what we would see is like that the risk on assets and risk on off asset like all move into the same direction. Seeing something like this, the US dollar gaining so massively strength, but at the same time the S&P 500 trading around $6,000, 6,000 points,
Yeah.
sorry, of 5,928 or something right now, and seeing especially also this move in Bitcoin. This is out of the ordinary. I think it really shows like how detached everything is from normal at the moment. And
Yeah.
sooner or later, we are going to see everything coming together again and moving unisono. But I also, for example, looked here just now at like my go-to charts for option trading. And when I look here at euro dollar, there's like not much in terms of support left, actually. We've broken through everything. We are massively oversold here. I mean, look at the RSI. It's like trading at 17 at the moment. We have here my fear zone indicator, or not mine. This is from somebody else, obviously. That's started already around actually 107, printing warnings that we might be in for a reversal. So I think sooner or later we're going to see this pullback at least here until 105.25. However, I don't want to bet on when is this going to be the case, because like we saw in the US dollar right now, what we're seeing also in Bitcoin, once those trends establish itself, it's almost impossible to perfectly time like where's the bottom or where's the high going to be. You got to be very careful. It's like trying to catch a falling knife. You're probably going to cut your hands, or in this case your wallet with this. I want to have a quick look here with these metrics also at the S&P 500. It takes a little bit to load here. By the way, this indicator that displays these bubbles of support and resistance, it's called dynamic support and resistance zones by Chart Prime. So this one you can find for free also on TradingView. And for me, a very nice tool, to kind of get a long-term picture where are bubbles of support and resistance. For example, here in the S&P 500, we can see next bigger support level would be here around 5,700 points. Obviously, there's a natural barrier, but just a small one. He had 6,000 points now. So like this, you can kind of, if you are a contrarian trader, you are somebody who likes to, for your swing trades at least, or maybe your option trading as well, you like to look at zones where there could be turnaround points for assets. This is one I think that's really good to look at, especially for me, like as an option trader. When we reach those points, this is normally always the time when I like to write new options, because you have a high volatility. Then you get a lot of money for the options you write. But this is, I think, a story for another day, so to say. All right,
Yeah, I
what
would love
time is
to.
it? I'm like losing time today.
I would love to talk about option in a stream. Talk a little bit about more about option, because that is
maybe that's something we can do. After the bull market peaked again, and then we have those 1.5 years, where everybody's going to be depressed. Maybe that's the time to talk about options then, until we can start talking about buying Bitcoin again, and nobody's going to believe us again.
Exactly. I think
So about
that
2
sounds
years
like a great
from now.
plan. Yep.
Here, good point. Also, very interesting. MSTR,
Right.
the stock. That one is crazy. I do a podcast every Monday, a German podcast with somebody who just told me, he got out of Bitcoin. He was holding Bitcoin with his company, which is like, from a tax perspective, something you shouldn't do with a company in Germany. And he said, I want to switch into stock, because that's I only need to pay 7% of taxes then with my company, and not something like 25 or 30%. And he switched like 2 weeks ago, and then told me last Monday, I'm already up 21% on my position with thanks to Michael Saylor. So definitely something to look at. How I think actually MicroStrategy is acting a little bit like an option on Bitcoin. When you see Bitcoin going up by 10%, it's going to go up by 25 or 30%. When it's going down, you're going to have the leverage down again. For me personally, I would always prefer the direct Bitcoin investment.
It is looking at MicroStrategy, though. I mean, back in it did at some point lose 99.5% of its value in.
I think that was before he started believing in Bitcoin, no? Back then.
Yeah, so he did go bankrupt once. MicroStrategy did pretty much go bankrupt at that point once, which is it's a difficult thing to kind of wrap your head around. Went back, like the stock just crashed in 2001. Well, it crashed around the 2000, something like that. But then it reached a low of like 99.5%.
Look at this.
I think you have to go to the monthly.
Yeah, let's change to the monthly here. I just need to deactivate here these indicators for the moment, because they always take a lot of time to. Look at this. Yeah, here. That was like the .com bubble.
Yeah, that must have been the .com bubble,
where
right?
it went all the way up here to $336, and then it crashed to almost zero here.
Yeah. So a company's chart that looks like this, I mean, I'm always going to question that. I mean, this is not sustainable. We're not taught, like, Nvidia looks better than this. This is not sustainable.
And if you look at the business by itself, they are actually losing money with the business. They lost $1.72 per share. I think this is always calculated.
So it's not a profitable business. All they do is they put their stock up as collateral to buy more Bitcoin, and they pile into Bitcoin, and then you look at Michael Saylor, and he's like, yeah, I don't sell Bitcoin. Like, there's no Bitcoin is the future. We don't sell Bitcoin. Like, but then what happens to your company?
That's the thing. And I remember him also saying in the past, we don't, as a company, we don't just need to look at Bitcoin, because we also have, cash flow and revenue coming in by selling our services and products. But that does not seem to be the case at the moment. So this is quite a leveraged bet. And maybe you remember this when we are trading around like $16,000 back then. There are also
And
some people saying like,
can we say that like if you look at the daily candle, now look at the daily chart. It's
yeah,
down today 32%,
it is.
31.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy down.
it's so incredibly volatile that
Look,
I
it was
think
all the
that
way up here at $540, and the pre-market is at $499.
yeah, if you activate the pre-market data, you'll see that it's just insane, you know.
Yeah, that is really insane. And what I wanted to say is, like, back then when we were trading in Bitcoin at 16,000, you know, like the bottom of a bear market, I remember also all this news coming out where people were concerned about MicroStrategy being forced liquidated, because obviously, you know, they give out bonds, so they have debt, and from this debt they buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the collateral then for the debt, and if the price goes down too much, of course the people they borrowed the money from, probably the banks, will come say like, hey, we need extra securities from you, or you need to liquidate your Bitcoin. And I think back then this price was around, what did Michael say? Let's say like 6,500 or 7,000 Bitcoin dollars per Bitcoin. I mean, so it was not that super much far away from 60,000.
Yeah, and we had also around I don't know exactly when that happened, but I do remember that we also had the was that then we had COVID. We had COVID as well, right? With the COVID dump, and he really got put in a situation, and actually something happened with the liquidation engine in the crypto perpetual futures market, and I remember BitMEX had a feature built in that halted all trading at a certain volatility or something like that. And if it weren't for BitMEX, we would probably go much lower than what happened in the COVID market, and that might actually have put MicroStrategy at a margin call liquidation notice, which then at that point, not sure where Bitcoin would have been, because the low of Bitcoin at that point, we went down. We went down to, I believe, what was it, below 4K, so 3,800 from 10,000 to below 4K is what happened. And
you mean the COVID plunge we saw there? Or what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was this one here, no? Here, this little one back then.
Yeah, the big move happened within, from started at around the 12th of March midnight, and then it ended 1 day later. So 24 hours of just cascading liquidations, and that could have been catastrophic for the future of Bitcoin.
That was this year, like within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, we fell down by 59% in Bitcoin, all the way from 9, or if you want to count this before, over 10K to around 3,500, 3,600. Yeah.
And what I'm thinking is, Michael Saylor bought more Bitcoin on this recent breakout. His biggest purchase yet happened a couple of days ago.
That's the thing I noticed over the last years, honestly speaking, as well, that kind of he always starts buying when we are around local highs. So timing wise, I don't think it's very good what's going on there. Now, of course, we're always talking about 300, 400 million US dollars that are bought. You have the process from planning to do that until you actually have the money through debt obligations and so on to buy Bitcoin. That's not a process that happens from within a day. We're probably speaking about weeks and months of planning and executing. But timing wise, I think I noticed this a couple of times. Whenever I see this headline like, oh, MicroStrategy bought like $300 million of Bitcoin again, that this is a coincidence then with a local top somehow. So maybe it's the case again. Maybe I'm also biased now because obviously I took some profit, which does not mean that I don't have any Bitcoin anymore. On the contrary, still have like 60% left of my backspend.
Do you know how many Bitcoin he bought recently?
I don't know how many.
Can you take a guess?
Well, I think it was like 300 or 400 million. So probably
like
I don't know.
Number of Bitcoins.
So that divided by the price, like 1,000, I don't know. 10,000.
27,200.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And
For
here I
around,
am being happy
two-
about having sold 3 Bitcoin.
he he bought 2 billion worth of Bitcoin
come on.
on this breakout at 75,000.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
just
the
insane.
thing, you know. It's like everybody thinks he's a genius right now, you
Yep.
know. And
Well, is he a genius? The biggest number of Bitcoin bought happened, of course, right before the breakup. But then again, now he owns 331,000 Bitcoin, more than 330,000 Bitcoin at an average price of 50,000 per Bitcoin. It, you know, 50,000 per Bitcoin on average price. That's good, obviously, because we're close to 100K. But still, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And
God.
like Bitcoin going back below 50K is not likely, but it's definitely possible. And imagine, like, yeah, I don't know. It's and he's telling us that he's never going to sell. Like, he's never going to sell.
Yeah.
He's going to, I don't know. Like,
his active strategy is like taking loans out against his Bitcoin position. And I remember he like proactively said to people during the last cycle where we were close to the top, you should do that. You should never sell your Bitcoin. You should take out a loan against your Bitcoin, which is super
Yeah.
dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is not an advice you should give to like a normal person that usually doesn't, is not in daily contact. Let's put it like this with a financial market. So here's the news: MicroStrategy up 2.2% pre-market, following a tumble of 16% on Thursday after short seller Citron Research said it shorted the stock against a long position in Bitcoin. So they're betting on an underperformance of MicroStrategy in comparison to Bitcoin. Much respect to Mr. Saylor, but even he must know MicroStrategy is overheated. Citron wrote in a post on X. The firm was referring to Michael Saylor, chairman, controlling shareholder of MicroStrategy, the largest corporate holder of the cryptocurrency. This is why we saw this tumble to the downside. It's actually quite interesting. Isn't that like kind of insider trading? You take a position and then you publish kind of like the research. We are very influential. We are a large hedge fund. We shorted MicroStrategy.
Depends on if they sell. It depends on if they sell on the release of that research. Obviously, if I build a position in an altcoin and then I say, okay, now I'm gonna sell this altcoin, and then I publish the news, and when it dumps, I sell. So it depends. If you make money on it, then that is not ethically correct. But for me, for example, I'm sharing my idea on your USD. Now, if I were if I were JP Morgan sitting here having a live stream and saying like, yeah, I'm shorting your USD and this is why I'm shorting USD, and then we have the dump, and when everyone else is taking that trade, then I sell that position, and then after the fact, I come out and say, oh, I've exited trade now. That might be more of a market manipulation. But when you're sharing your trade ideas as a hedge fund or a short seller research fund or whatever, that's not really a problem. But I think it's a really good trade though. Shorting MicroStrategy while hedging against that with a longer Bitcoin, I think that's a really good trade, because I think
that's a trade you need like iron balls for. I think really.
But I think eventually MicroStrategy will collapse, because MicroStrategy is not Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is a business that is not profitable, and the only reason why price is going up is because people are buying MicroStrategy because they're one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin, and that's the only reason why price is going up.
They are kind of depending now onto like that this is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, that you have other companies that add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, that you have countries that add to their balance sheet. This is, in my opinion at least, also why Michael Saylor is so outspoken about this and offering his help, because this is what he needs. If that doesn't happen, well, then this whole bubble is sooner or later going to explode. And why this can go on for a long time, maybe 4 years in the future, we're talking about MicroStrategy trading at $3,000. Who knows? But it's not going to go on for eternity. So I always would prefer the direct spot investment in Bitcoin. And like you said earlier, then putting those into a cold storage wallet that never has been connected to the internet, and that you put at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. So you have to take a 3 weeks expedition and dive to if you want to sell your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I very much agree with this. So we've been live now for 1 hour. I think we maybe should slowly come to an end. What do you say? What do you think? I mean,
yeah, I think that might be a good idea. I'm thinking, I think I want to short MicroStrategy. That's what I'm thinking. But probably not. But I think it's a big short in the making on MicroStrategy. I can't see how it's sustainable. I mean, the Bitcoin holdings and Michael Saylor's betting on Bitcoin, I think that's a good bet. I think that's a good trade. But I can't see how MicroStrategy. It's like they have a company that's not making money, and then they all of a sudden just transitioned over into, okay, we're just gonna use the company to buy Bitcoin. I feel like that's just not sustainable at all. Maybe it is though. Like, I mean, if the United States is going to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet, then everyone else is going to do so, and then of course MicroStrategy is just going to blow up. I mean, it's just going to go straight up.
Yeah, what Arwo, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly here, is mentioning. We have large institutions that are rushing into Bitcoin at the moment, and of course this exposes Bitcoin also to the risk of what Satoshi probably didn't want, that you have like a large number of Bitcoin controlled by very few entities, which basically is like a fiat 2.0, this is what we have right now as well. We have like 1% of the world's population controlling, I don't know, like 70, 80, 90% of the wealth. And obviously this is a danger. And the danger I see here is twofold. Like you just said, when MicroStrategy should collapse really for whatever reason, maybe they overdo it, with a collateral, they mess up there somewhere with a debt around the way. There could be many, many reasons for that. This for sure would have a massive impact on the price of Bitcoin if they're forced to sell. And this just bring my thought to the end. The second one, obviously, in my opinion, is also US dollar TIFA. This is also a little bit a shade of gray, a dark shade of gray. Nobody's really sure, is that really backed all by US dollar? What is this company doing? If that one should collapse, that also would have a massive impact on Bitcoin. This is kind of the danger I see for this cycle. Sorry, go ahead.
So, okay, now this is not accounting coins that is not in circulate. So I'm just looking at the Bitcoin supply. Currently minted Bitcoin supply is 19.7 million. And now I'm not taking into consider the dead coins, the coins that are gone, right? Now, if you look at that, then this means that MicroStrategy holds almost 2% of the Bitcoin supply. Okay, so MicroStrategy. Yeah, so MicroStrategy. No, and BlackRock, the BlackRock ETF, over 2%. So MicroStrategy and BlackRock together, almost 4% of the total supply of Bitcoin, almost 4%. So I mean, it's that's not good. And BlackRock is not, it is not your average, it's not your average Starbucks company. Like BlackRock is funding, nations that are at war with each other. Like they're making money on BlackRock is not a nice company, So if they want to crash the price of Bitcoin, they're gonna crash it. And they want to own, like they want to control Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a weapon against the current state of the financial markets. Like Bitcoin can be used to actually, challenge the dominance of the G10 currencies, right? So it's like BlackRock wants to control Bitcoin. Absolutely. So it's like, this is problematic. It is.
It is. All right. Good. Let's maybe finish here on a high note or low note, talking about BlackRock. Maybe I want to rename Bitcoin eventually to Blackcoin.
Yeah, right.
Who knows? All right, thanks a lot, guys, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us here today. It's quite exciting. I'm wondering, like next week when we are having this live stream again, if we are seeing prices of north of 100,000, maybe 110,000 already, or if my prophecy that we are inbound, for a bit of a correction here comes true. I hope, of course, not. I want Bitcoin to continue to the north, like all of us want that. But who knows? I think we made our point here today to be a little bit cautious, and this is something you don't hear that often, honestly speaking, from us as well. After we've been talking so long now about get into Bitcoin, not so long ago when we were trading at 50,000, 54,000, that was the last time where both of us said, guys, the potential to the upside is much higher than the risk to the downside at the moment. So let's see how things are going to play out. I wish you guys a very happy weekend. Same to you, Jonathan. As always, a pleasure having you here, and looking forward for the next one. So take care.